how good is this? The Mayor of Fairfield in Sydney, Frank Carbone, has come out today, and Fairfield is a high migrant population area, very diverse population in Western Sydney. He said in response to Woolworths and Aldi refusing to stock Australia Day gear, he's ordering tens of thousands of Australian flags so he can hand them out to residents for free. And you know what? I have no doubt that the residents, many of them migrants from overseas, will accept those flags with open arms, because unlike the people on the boards of Woolworths and Aldi and all these other woke corporates that are all run by very rich white people, they're glad to be in this country.
They're right. And Frank's my man, I got to say. Like, I love that. And I love the fact that he's pushed back. And I love the fact that, you know, it's going to be warmly received by the locals there. You would accept that that was the case. I mean, there's this great myth that somehow people from different countries are offended by Australia Day. Quite the opposite. I always remember the people that were, you know, probably most active during that period when, you know, when I attend these Australia Day ceremonies are very much the new immigrants, and that's a great thing. Look, these corporates continue to surprise us. It wasn't that long ago that the corporate sector used to take the view, we don't want to offend our market. Now they're just flying with ESG. ESG is a poison on the corporate sector, and the sooner they learn these lessons, the better. In the meantime, maybe Frank's going to have to teach them a lesson.
Well, maybe we should put Frank in charge of Woolworths. But why do they keep making these decisions? Because, of course, during the Voice referendum, you had all of these corporates. I think the majority of top 20 ASX companies supported the Voice to Parliament. They tipped in something like $50 million collectively into the campaign. We know that didn't work. Now, that appealed probably to the federal government. They've got their ulterior motives for that. Every time they do this, there's a backlash. So what do they actually gain out of going down this road?
That's a great question. Look, I think ultimately this comes from a bigger global push. We're seeing this sort of language of ESG coming out of the World Economic Forum, which of course is going to meet on Monday again to give us more pearls of wisdom, things we should be doing.
That's what we need.
The place where billionaires tell millionaires how to make the rest of us live. So we'll expect more of that. But look, I think honestly that's where it comes back to. The corporate sector has now been weaponised for a greater push, a societal change push, where what we're expecting out of corporates now is them telling us how to live. You know, they've realised this is an easier way than controlling governments. Controlling the corporate sector is the way of the future. And until people push back on it, until consumers show their displeasure, as they did with Bud Light and as they did with Gillette prior to that, by the way, if you remember the toxic masculinity campaign, it's going to continue.
As I said yesterday, and of course Peter Dutton was saying yesterday as well, which he's copped some heat for, spend your dollar where you think it is best spent.
And spend it locally.
It is the power of the consumer. I know the average consumer thinks, well, I'm only one cog in the wheel, but if enough people do it, it can have an effect like it did with Bud Light.